Alright guys, today I'll be reviewing Goliath at Six Flags Over Georgia. This is the 2006 B&M Hyper, and I gotta tell you, I was expecting a mid-tier B&M Hyper, but that is not even close to what I got. This is far, far and away the best B&M, period. So we'll start with the presentation. This thing is huge. You can see this from pretty much anywhere in the front half of the park, and when you actually get up to the queue, there's really no theming in the queue, in the station, anything like that. It's pretty barren. The line can get big for this, but it has one of the better capacities, so it moves pretty quick. They do sort of assign rows, but you can pretty commonly request a row. There was one time where they're like, please go over here, but most of the time you can request the back row, which is definitely where you want to go, which is weird because most people were telling me that this is a front row ride, but I definitely think this is a back row ride. And in particular, back row load side, get the far load side. So you're going to pull down these clamshell restraints. You can get some room with these if you know how to hold them up. And then you're going to start out of the station and head up your lift hill. This is one of the smallest B&M Hypers, but that doesn't matter. So you're going to head down the first drop, and this is the weakest first drop for a B&M Hyper, I'll say that. The start of this ride definitely doesn't feel like the rest of it. This first drop and this first camelback are pretty weak. You'll get floater on the first drop if you're in the back, and then the valley in between these hills really doesn't do anything, and that goes for most of the valleys, but I'll definitely get to the exception. But yeah, the first camelback, it sort of feels like a weaker version of Diamondbacks, like how it starts as a normal camelback and then banks to the left. It's floater, it's mid-tier floater. It feels like Candemonium kind of, so that's an okay way to start the ride. And then you're going to hit the second camelback. This one feels more like the 5-second floater hill on Mako. It is glorious, sustained floater. It's stronger floater. So after that, you're going to hit one of the most bonkers moments on any ride by far, and that is this downwards helix. I was not anticipating much on this. I was anticipating this to maybe be on par with Nitros, which I really like, but in no way did I think this was going to be as intense as it was. You start off by popping up into it, and I thought this would definitely be a front row element, but you get the same amount of airtime in the front or the back, and oh my god, the pop is so much stronger on the load side. I don't know why. I think it's just because the track starts banking to the left, so you get sort of chucked up even more if you're on the unload side. But yeah, that is a strong moment of ejector, and then you start hitting that helix, and it is really sustained. You're going around for a while. And on the first couple rides when it was like slow, I grayed out really hard on this still, and I still couldn't get my vision back until the next hill. But oh my god, later on, your vision's just completely black throughout the ending part of this. Like, throughout the last part of this helix, throughout that entire valley, until you crest the next hill and start getting airtime, your vision is completely black. And I even had my first blackout on this thing, which I thought that would be on Project 305, but that thing never even made me blackout, but this thing managed to do it. It is crazy just having your vision completely gone for a few seconds, wondering what the hell's happening, and then you start, like, sort of falling asleep. Like, this thing put me to bed, and then suddenly, like, you start, like, regaining like your sense of where you are, and that sense of where you are is ejected out of your seat. So that is just one of the greatest moments ever. I know a concern some people might have now is, okay, if this thing's so intense, won't I get stapled for the rest of the ride? Yes, if you don't know what you're doing. If you're someone like me who's ridden hundreds, I haven't ridden hundreds, but I've gotten hundreds of rides on coasters with these restraints, and I know exactly how to hold them up. You basically just sort of go Frankenstein armed and like hold them up like that straight ahead and push them up. So if you get a couple inches of room out of the station, you should be fine to hold this up. Like, even if you start sort of going out of it, like during a blackout potentially, like my subconscious just naturally holds it up. And these restraints are pretty light too. They're not like Project 305s where it's impossible to hold these things up. Like, they're light. So if you've been on a lot of B&M Hypers / Gigas, you should be fine. So then you hit the next hill, and you're still blacked out or grayed out, whatever, throughout this hill, like the start of it, and then you regain that vision, and it's crazy, because this is actually an ejector pop. It's weak ejector, but it's still ejector nonetheless, and yeah, you just regain your vision, and you're flying out of your seat. It's amazing. And then you hit this little turn here. You get a little bit of laterals going to the left, but nothing too crazy. And then you hit the finale. And this feels insane. It's 3 really strong ejector pops. It's not like Airy Force 1 or anything even close to that, but like, it's still really good. The first one is the most sustained, I think, but they're all really sustained, and they're all insanely strong, especially for a B&M. I never expected a B&M to have this strong of airtime. Like, this feels like good RMC airtime right here. Again, not even close to Airy Force 1 level, but still really good. Then you hit this little turn to the left, you get thrown around a little, and then you hit one last ridiculous pop of ejector. And this one sort of feels like the ending hill to Airy Force or Wildcat's Revenge, in the sense that it throws you forwards and up. So if you don't know how to brace for it, you could hit your crotch if you're a dude, which could be annoying if you don't know how to set it up. But I mean, one technique I've heard, especially for Airy Force, is to staple yourself before it. And you could do that with this as well to protect it, but I just like push the restraint up, so I just get ejected and I don't like smack my crotch on the restraint. So any men, you should be fine if you've ridden a B&M Hyper. If not, be prepared for pain. But yeah, it's a really strong ejector pop at the end. It comes out of nowhere. And then you hit the brakes. So that's your ride on Goliath. Overall, it is one of the shakier B&Ms. It definitely has a rattle. But if you know me, if anything, that just adds to the ride and the intensity. This thing just shocked me. I had no idea that I was going to be walking away with a top 15 coaster at this park. But at the end of the day, this thing did it. So for Goliath's final score, I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. Now, I considered giving it a higher score. However, my tier system goes Airy Force 1's just leagues ahead of everything. And then there's 8/9 coasters, because Lightning Rod's 2 credits. So 8/9 coasters that are all in contention for number 2. You know, Wildcat's Revenge usually has a better shot at it than a coaster like Lightning Rod. But at the end of the day, they're all sort of in the same group. And I never wake up and go, okay, maybe Goliath's my number 2. And that's sort of the difference that makes me give it a 9 instead of a 10. But that being said, I think this is my favorite 9 out of 10. So let me know what you guys think of Goliath down in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.